President Biden has 40 days left in office, and new reporting says some Democrats are frustrated with how he's handling the remainder of that time. The reports say a number of Democrats are angry the president-elect Trump has been dominating the news cycle with cabinet nominations and meeting with world leaders. They call it a massive missed opportunity. Biden's team says he is focused on completing this term and what he can do for the American people. NewsNation's Kelly Meyer live in Washington, D.C. ahead of the president's economic speech later today. Kelly?
Yeah, today the White House is hitting back at those critics, saying we're not done yet, and making sure to put President Biden front and center for what they're calling a big economic speech about his record. That's coming up in the next hour or so right here in Washington, D.C. The White House Chief of Staff sent out a 2-page memo to all White House staff before the close of business on Monday, and the subject line, quote, making the most of the last 42-day sprint. The president's priorities outlined here, including working with Congress and making progress on the president's foreign policy agenda. President Biden out in front of the cameras on Monday for his speech at his final Tribal Nations Summit. But critics of the president, some from within the president's own party, are questioning whether President Biden or where he has been as President-elect Trump is moving on those cabinet picks and, as you mentioned, meeting with world leaders on the world stage, like in France over the weekend. First Lady Jill Biden there at the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Biden's place. One Democratic source telling me that Democrats are, quote, pissed that Biden is basically letting Trump be president 2 months early. Another Democratic lawmaker who challenged Biden for the Democratic nomination, Congressman Dean Phillips, telling NewsNation, quote, had Mr. Biden simply passed the torch in April 2023, we would likely be celebrating his presidency, a House majority, and a Democrat in the Oval Office come January. Instead, hubris and the cowardice of the people protecting their proximity to power have produced a tragedy as predictable as it was preventable. The White House coming to Biden's defense, pointing to returning from his second of 2 major foreign trips and a big speech on the economy and on his record set for next hour. Marni.
Kelly, you mentioned part of the president's final 40 days focusing on foreign policy with some of these recent trips. How is President-elect Trump impacting those efforts, if at all?
Yeah, and it's normally one president at a time on foreign policy. But what we're seeing in this instance, this rare instance where President-elect Trump is already starting to work on the world stage in talks with Ukrainian President Zelensky over continued support for Ukraine and working with Israel's prime minister on a ceasefire and hostage deal. And this all comes as the latest developments out of Syria are moving. The two men have very different views on that. President-elect Trump believes this is not our fight and that the U.S. should have nothing to do with it. The U.S. should not get involved, he says. President Biden, on the other hand, believes the U.S. and allies should work to stabilize Syria. The U.S. already conducting dozens of airstrikes targeting Islamic State camps in Syria. And when I asked National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby just moments ago whether President-elect Trump is impacting Biden's final foreign policy plans, he tells me that the president is focused on what time he has left and to continue to use his, quote, assertive foreign policy and the advantage that our alliances have. He says that the president is focused on continuing to move these balls forward and, quote, I think you're going to see that, he tells me. Marni.
All right, that speech later today from the president. Kelly Meyer in Washington. Kelly, thank you for the update. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.